Today we are looking at one-step equations. Now before I start, I wanted to go through what an inverse operation is. Inverse means the opposite. The opposite of addition is subtraction, the opposite of subtraction is addition, the opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. Now this information is really important when we are balancing a one-step equation. By balancing a one-step equation, we're trying to identify the value of x. And to be able to identify the value of x, we need to undo the operations that have happened to it. And we have to use an inverse operation to undo it. I'm going to go through and model now how to solve a one-step equation for the four operations. Let's start with addition. We have an equation that says x plus 5 equals 13. Now because I'm trying to get that x on its own, I have to use the inverse of addition, which is subtraction. So write the equation down again, and it has been added by 5, and the opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5. And I have to subtract 5 from both sides to keep the equation balanced. X plus 5 take 5. When we add 5 and we take 5, that'll equal 0. And 13 take 5 equals 8. Therefore, x equals 8. Let's look at subtraction. I'll write the equation down again. Now in this case, x has been subtracted by 9. The inverse operation of subtraction is addition, and the opposite of take 9 is add 9. Add 9 to both sides. Now x take 9 plus 9 again equals 0. So we have x left over. And 14 plus 9 equals 23. Therefore x equals 23. Let's look at multiplication. Now 5x equals 45. What that does mean is it's 5 times x equals 45. Now the opposite of timesing by 5 is dividing by 5, because that's the inverse operation. Again, writing the equation down, dividing by 5 on both sides, keeping that equation balanced. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. That's why the x is there. And 45 divided by 5 equals 9. Therefore, x equals 9. Division. We have x divided by 7 equals 3. The inverse of dividing is multiplying. So I'm going to times by 7, again on both sides. X divided by 7 times 7 equals 1. And 3 times 7 equals 21. Therefore, x equals 21. Let's look at some more complex one-step equations now. We have negative x plus 1 equals 2. I'm going to write that again, but I'm going to put a 1 in front of it, just so it makes it a little bit easier to use. So it's been added by 1. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to take 1 from both sides. And negative 1x plus 1 take 1 leaves us with negative 1x. And 2 take 1 is 1. Now we have a negative 1. We want to know the value of a positive x. So to get it to a positive, we're going to divide it by negative 1 on both sides to find a positive value of x. And 1 divided by negative 1 equals negative 1. Therefore, x equals negative 1. And our last one, 8 take x equals 7. Now we can do this two different ways. And I'll show you them now. So we have 8 take x equals 7. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a positive on that 8, because I'm actually going to move that part over. So the opposite of plussing 8 is subtracting 8. So I'll write that equation down again. And I'm going to take 8 from this side, making sure we take it from both sides. So we're left with negative x equals 7 take 8, which is negative 1. Just like previous, we have a negative value. I'll put that 1 in front to make it a bit simpler. So I have to divide it by a negative, because when we divide by two negatives, we'll get a positive x, and that's what we're looking for. And negative 1 divided by negative 1 equals positive 1. Therefore, x equals positive 1. But I'll show you another way to do it. We know that's a positive, and we know that's a negative. To make that equation a little bit easier to deal with, what you can do is you can turn it around and solve. When the x is at the front of the equation, it sometimes makes it easier to work with. And that is how you solve one-step equations. Thank you.